Oh hey, didn't see you there. I'm a man, if you didn't know. And like other men, there are three things that really get my chainsaw roaring. Red meat, explosions, and the deeper scientific analysis on the influence of demographics on the art of media marketing. Hell yeah.
Demographics is not just something college boys plaster on their websites to feel better about themselves. The analytics of pinpointing an estimate number of statistics through categorical variables runs true through all sorts of media and jury selections.
Hey, disembodied voice. What did any of that mean?
Essentially, demographics are everywhere.
Oh, okay, cool. Glad I didn't have to pull this out. As you could imagine, I wasn't allowed to become a statistic. The college one, not the jury one. Though technically I'm not allowed on the jury either.
It's important to know your audience. Movies, books, highly polarizing and possibly unoriginal YouTube videos.
I'm pretty sure most of my audience are the people sitting down ready to eat lunch who misclicked on the wrong video and their cookies on rye. Enjoy that sandwich, John.
And there's no medium that knows its audience better than anime. How can you tell? Because the demographics themselves are the genres. Demographical genres are simplistic in nature and definition. As a way to market their respective properties, I guess the Japanese just decide to call them what they are, like josei or kodomomuke. Makes sense. After all, sometimes the best solution is the easiest one.
Imagine if we started doing that, like calling books for angsty teens young adult novels, or movies for sad, lonely, horny women chick flicks.
And today we're looking at boys. Anime. Shonen, the genre that speaks on behalf of the preteen to teen male mind. Shonen anime are the shows that many of us grew up with, and in a way are still growing up with. The progression of shonen over the years is fascinating, as with a lot of art, many creators take from their predecessors, but add in a bit of their own childhoods to spice up a new story to tell.
And I don't mean literally, it's more about the philosophies, techniques, and experiences they've acquired as children and storytellers remembering these techniques. I mean, Oda probably never actually intended to become a pirate. I think.
And so we're talking shonen, its history, definition, and all things that truly make it a pillar in the art of anime. First and foremost, where does it begin?
For a good majority of his life, time has been very kind to the genre, as a good number of the most famous shows in all of anime's history are shonen. From the early days of Astro Boy and Voltron, to the revolution of titles that would get international fame like Dragon Ball and the Big Three, to today's wider range of male brain rot.
I think it's the cycle itself that makes shonen in particular riveting. Uno Juza inspired Tezuka, who inspired Toriyama, who inspired God who knows how many other artists out there, all with their own distinctive ways of telling the story as well as capturing that essence of being young and full of aspirations. Because of this, it's a stream of both old and new works that pivot themselves into this singular grouping of uniting a marginally large base. While not all shonen are successful, those that are still reap the benefits of their place in anime for many years later. And that's not accidental. Like in a lot of industries, male domination, especially in marketing, will often have the advantage of taking the reins for a substantial part in the business. And that's a can of worms I'm not gonna sit in today, but it is something to think about next time you go about any task.
Did you ever notice that there's never a urinal in the women's bathroom? And here I thought feminism was making progress.
How do you know that? As for shonen itself, this may come as a surprise to you, but shows geared towards boys will have boys liking it. I know, shocking. But when it comes down to it, what do boys like?
If I may, I happen to be a dude myself. Sports? Giant robots? Violence? We love that. Some of us like boobs. Not all of us, though. McDonald's? I should probably write all this down.
The content of a majority of shonen shows are those of what a typical adolescent boy may like. It can range from cool occupations like vampire slayer or outlaw, to fun concepts like being cool or traveling to another world, to the downright basics like punching people or looking after a baby.
You know, in a manly way.
For as simple as this explanation is, there are some odd shonen concepts out there, like competitive bread baking, or a JoJo where the bizarre adventure happens as a circus attraction, or the very real show about boys in a club all about wearing glasses.
No matter the setup, the shonen show seems to encapsulate the idea of dudes just being dudes. Whether it be a power fantasy like Baki, or something weird to roll with like the aforementioned, there does seem to be this universally binding multi-brain attraction guys have with these ideas.
Of course, this includes the themes and motifs as well. Often, there are some shared qualities when it comes to the takeaways of the thematic elements to these shows. The most famous is probably the power of friendship. A ton of major shows employ this type of lesson in especially deep emotional arcs.
You've probably seen those memes and critiques about how unrealistic and cliched these turn out to be, like getting some power boost after a flashback episode or something. And while those are funny to dunk on, I honestly don't think they're as bad as they seem to be, for a majority of the time.
Fairy Tail, Bleach, a lot of sports anime. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be too hard on these instances because the context does matter. And to be fair, there are other lessons to take from the rest of the respective shows' runs. Other morals fairly common in these shows include being pure of heart, learning how to be a true hero, realizing how oppressive an oligarchical hierarchy is in a functional society, and the power of those on top will sparingly be used as a means to keep the chokehold on the weak and populace, and romance.
That's quite a complex concept these shows throw out there. Romance, huh?
Romance in shonen in particular is interesting because unless it's a harem or straight up romance anime, it takes a back seat to other developments in the show. While the feelings of characters like Winry or Mikasa do have a semblance of importance to their growth, they're mostly inconsequential to the overarching plot.
That's right, kids. Your feelings don't matter.
But when romance is at the forefront, it's often through the lens of a male protagonist, the girls themselves may or may not be particularly interesting, and get ready for a lot of fan service.
Which is kind of weird to think about. I mean, the core audience of these shows are, what, 10 to 17 years old or so? Exposure to the exposed is a bit strange. Though I guess it is a different culture, so it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like American kids watching Family Guy, it just happens.
And of course, you can't forget the violence.
No, I can't.
These shows can be savage, but as long as you realize the violence is all in good fun, which I'm sure plenty of Japanese viewers know, then it's not a problem. What was that one Phineas and Ferb quote?
Okay, boys, let's have a fair and square fight, and in no way should this ensuing fight contain the image of a potentially harmful, hurtful, or psychologically disturbing physical act that could be found imitatable by an impressionable child viewer.
But in a counter argument, doing violence is fun. I mean, who hasn't tried to throw a Kamehameha at some point in their life, or tried to tap into their chakra, or kill a man in cold blood? Man, assault and murder are so fun, they should make them illegal.
But just because boys are the target audience, that doesn't exclude girls from the fun. In fact, they're probably more than welcome to join in.
In terms of shows with female leads, there are some that get the attention of boys. Like Keijo, the show about girls in swimsuits who wrestle with their butts. Okay, maybe not the best example. There's Aho Girl, where the lead is a complete moron. Future Diary, where the lead is a psychopathic obsessed killer. I should probably stop talking.
Aside from being White Dream Father, comic relief, and whatever the hell qualifies as, there are cool female leads out there, like Maka from Soul Eater and Kaori from Your Lie in April. Even those that cross that boundary, like Medaka Kurakami, have their moments, and the sentiment can extend to the audience as well. Shonen is not just for boys, girls can enjoy it too.
And I could go on a long, preachy speech about equality and feminist representation in anime when really I don't have expertise in either of those fields. But I won't, because that would be condescending, and probably a microaggression. But I think I speak for all of us when I say we can all appreciate some nice tits and ass.
All in all, Shonen is just this huge beacon, one that lights the course for engagement, creativity, and hard-learned lessons many young and developing minds can get behind. Shows that won't always tell you the right things to do or how to feel all the time, but they don't need to. Because as the audience grow and experience the world in their own ways on top of that, there's also the flexibility to come to their own conclusions. It's not easy being young, and with shonen, the little escapism paired with the values and artistic license the shows hold with them are simply more clay for the minds to mold. Even as adults, people can come back to shonen titles and pick up on new ones because of how integral they are to the culture of anime, the worth they place in the cycle of growing artists, and the overall fun they can be as instances of guys and gals just being themselves.
Shonen is a genre that's just there, and it feels like it's always been there. And in a way, it is kind of comforting to know that there is a selection of series that anyone can just take in so casually or so seriously, with emphasis on absorbing basic but hearty and genuine stories. But now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna get back to writing down what boys like. So far, I have sports, robots, video games, steak, MMA, boobs, parentheses, some of us, trick shots, and a really cool stick that could be used as a sword. Maybe I should finish this later. Oh, procrastination!